Hello everybody, this is Chumba, here to bring you a build. It's a Stam Sorc PvP build. This is good for raids, it's good for solo play with a few adjustments. You're not too bad off in solo as it is, but I'll explain it to you this way. So basically I'm wearing 5-piece shackle breaker, I'm 5-piece heavy, I have automatons as well. Automatons is where you're going to get your damage from. Gives you about 400 weapon damage to your physical damage abilities, and that's pretty much everything in the Stam Sorc's toolbox. Everything in this build, the best abilities for damage that the Stam Sorc has, they're all physical damage. This is why you're using automatons, because you get a huge chunk of damage to straight physical damage, and it's up all the time, which is why it's nice. You might have to do some grinding in some dungeon to get your automatons. That's the downside. The good news is the rest of it you can just craft. Shackle Breaker is craftable. And this build also has 2 pieces blood spawn, which I highly suggest. It's better for ult regen. You're gonna need a lot of ult if you're throwing out negates for your raid. But you could swap blood spawn for something else that does damage if you don't want to do ultimates like negates for your raid. And also there's another adapt it's a different part of the build here. The Maelstrom's dual wield, if you have that, you can swap out. By the way, I'm sword and board and dual wield. You can swap out your blood spawn, lose your monster pieces, stick with shackle breaker and automatons, and throw on Maelstrom dual wield and 2-piece sword and board, something that gives you a 2-piece bonus to physical resist, preferably something that's really easy to get. There's a lot of options with that. But basically, the Maelstrom dual wield will give your builds an incredibly hard-hitting dot. You'll notice that's like 2,000 weapon damage to one of 2 abilities. It has to be, as you can read here, a single target damage ability over time ability. So your only 2 options for that would be twin slashes or poison injection. I would suggest for the build I'm talking about with the Maelstrom dual wield here, swapping out, you have to use flurry and which is this, rapid strikes. Use rapid strikes and follow it up with twin slashes. That's how the Maelstrom build would work. That would make your build incredibly hard hitting in single target damage. But this build here is for raid. This is my raid setup here. So basically, Dark Deal, you want the Dark Deal morph, the one that costs Magicka, gives you health and stand back. You want Rapids, retreating maneuver to speed your group. That's also your immunity to snares. If you get snared, you can hit Rapids and speed yourself up and keep yourself immune to snares. Because you're in 5 heavy, you can't use shuffle, and shuffle doesn't give you 30% speed either. You've got streak, flying blade, and steel tornado with Dawnbreaker smiting as your ultimate. Here's how the build works. Flying blade, that's your opener, gives you major brutality. You gotta hit someone with that before you go in to do damage. When the group is bombing, you hit someone with Flying Blade, you jump in there, fly in with Streak. Nice thing about this build is you've got Streak, and on your sword and board bar, you've got Shielded Assault. The little damage shield it gives you is kind of pathetic, but the thing is, with that shield that it gives you, you can't take a critical hit when someone hits you when you got that shield up. So when you jump in there with Shielded Assault, you've got a little bit of mitigation. It's nice. Doesn't last long though. Of course, you've got Hurricane, Vigor, Reverberating Bash. If you're fighting someone who looks like they're not going down really quickly, like if they're not in 5 medium and they're not even shielding, you're going to want to hit them with the Reverberating Bash. It's going to defile them and stun them. That's the best thing about Sword and Board, in my opinion. Reverberating Bash is amazing. And Heroic Slash. Why Heroic Slash? Because you need an ultimate. Lots of ultimate. That should be... for raid, you're going to want Suppression Field. Or whatever morph and negate. Both morphs are good. Yeah, for raid, you're going to want negates. Heroic Slash is going to help you get your negates up faster. Just hit someone with that, and it slows people down. It's got a 60% snare, which is really nice. The other thing is also your Flying Blade has a snare too. It's a 50% snare. So when your raid is closing on a group, you throw out your Flying Blade, give yourself Major Brutality, go in there, do some Steel Tornadoes to execute. Don't spam Steel Tornado the whole time. It does more damage to people who have less health. It's an execute, okay? It's not going to do as much damage, and it's going to cost you just as much stamina if the people are at full health. Don't spam it the whole time. If your group is having trouble whittling people down, this build is less effective, but your Hurricane helps with that, and you can defile people with a Reverting Bash. Make sure you've got a Heroic Slash on someone to get yourself that ult back the entire time. Nice thing is people can't run from you. Nightblades have a really hard time with Stam Sorcs because your Hurricane is going to be up if you keep it up all the time, and you'll snare them and befoul them. So they're defiled, they're getting less health, they're snared, they're moving slower, and you can gap close in one of two ways. You can hit them with Shielded Assault to close the gap, cost stamina to do that, or if you've got Magicka, you can throw in a Streak. Nice thing about this is why I'm wearing Shackle Breaker is for that Magicka regents and Stam regen and extra max Magicka and extra max stamina. Nice, well it does add some weapon damage too, and that's nice. Because any bit of weapon damage is nice on a damage build. But Shackle Breaker does amazing things for Stam Sorcs because you utilize your Magicka a whole lot as a Stam build. Your Dark Deal, like when you get low on Stam, your Dark Deal is going to give you Stam back. So if you can't cast Rapids for your group because you're out of Stam, you can Dark Deal and then cast Rapids. But don't let yourself get extremely low on Stam before you start thinking about Dark Dealing. Start Dark Dealing whenever you have the opportunity to cast a Dark Deal. It's got a little cast time to it. So you can be interrupted with that. So basically that's the build. Let me know what you think. Post your comments below. And hope you have fun playing with the build.